Okay, as I reached the 10th chapter, every 10 chapters of my writing journey of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, how I was interpreting each chapter as it was affecting my life, I did a bit of a reflection. And not a reflection where you're living in the past, but a reflection where you're kind of thinking about, here was my starting point, look how far I've come. That's where I see a reflection being. So I would kind of have those reflections every 10 chapters of the book. And now that's where I am. Thursday, 13th of March, 2014, what if? As I look back over the past few weeks, I really did think I was just going through some moments that would be easily sorted. Hence my revisiting past learnings and beginning my new writing project. But I have had some really downs and downs. What I thought were minor irritations are actually much more than that. I'm finding that I really need to put perspective on what is happening in order to keep afloat. If I don't, I will become bogged down and lose sight of what it is I need to do to keep working towards regaining peace and happiness. In fact, right now, all I'm feeling is sadness and the opposite of peace. I'm not going into all the gory details, but the stuff going on in my personal life is make or break stuff. Stuff that has the potential and probably has done irreparable damage to the relationships I have with the people closest to me. Stuff that requires a lot of effort to try and remain calm so I don't add to the problem. Stuff that requires some honest and difficult conversations, and stuff I just can't seem to understand how it has escalated to where it is. I know we all have our ways of dealing with stuff, but for some reason, no matter how big the problem is, I would prefer to work it out in a calm way. When our egos and emotions get added to the mix, it just makes everything go to shit quickly. What is important for me is to stop and think about what I might contribute to the problem if I react in a certain way. I'm happy to have my say, but I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've got really angry. In fact, I probably have more chance of winning lotto than ever getting angry about anything. That's true. This doesn't mean I don't get annoyed about things, because I do. But it's how I choose to react to those situations that can make the difference. A lovely friend of mine at work said that she would rather never say things she regretted and would rather not have to say sorry to people for saying things she regretted. I couldn't have said it better myself. What to do now, given that turmoil is afoot? I'm reminded of a piece of advice I got many, many years ago when I went to a session at the Relaxation Centre. You can't control what you think, but you can control what you say. How true is that? It's true. I have babble going through my head all the time. Some of that babble comes out of my mouth when I'm engaging in nonsense talk. But I can say, but, because I have a big one, every word that comes out of my mouth, I can choose to say or not say. And I can choose how I say it. That's a really hard thing to do because my foot was always in my mouth saying things that I shouldn't have. But I soon learned that I actually have control over that. I think this piece of advice was a game changer for me. It helped me in so many ways. It helped me determine if what I was going to add to a situation was positive or negative, or helpful or hurtful, loving or nasty. And I found that when I began to think about what and how I spoke, it made a big difference. I felt better about me and about my relationships with others. Not everyone has this way of thinking, but it worked for me. My friend who chooses to not say things that she'd rather regret also handed me a book, Why Wait to Be Great? It's Either Now or Too Late by Terry Hawkins. It was an easy read and it has given me the slap in the face I needed to go forward. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. That slap plus this one. So this morning when I left for work, my mum was still asleep. It was after 7:30 and that was very unlike her. My first thought was, fuck, what if something happened to her? Would I want to live my life knowing that the last interaction we had was not a positive or a happy one? No, it's not. That would not bring me peace and would be a regret I could never change. Unfortunately, what's happened has happened and I can't change any of it. But I can make sure that I remain true to my life values and beliefs and just get on with it in the best way I know how, positively and lovingly, and with a little extra dose of love for myself. This blog was hard and was difficult to write, but I am on another journey and I am sharing it all. I don't want to have any more what if moments, and I certainly can't live my life feeling like I have felt the past week. Life's too short. With all that said, I do declare my pity party over. Bartender, I'd like some real wine, please, while I go on reminding myself not to sweat the small stuff. Well, now I don't drink, so there's no wine happening here. So I've made a little footnote here. During this time of my journey, back in 2014, it was turbulent with both my husband and my mother. And although I haven't shared many details up to this time, I was actually at breaking point. But the show had to go on and life had to be lived regardless. I cannot tell you what it was like to be living in an environment where I felt like I was in the middle of just constant anger. It was just terrible. And that's where I think I was talking about the ego, you know, that if we can take our ego out of a situation and actually think about what it is we're going to say and whether it's actually going to hurt somebody else, you know, maybe we should rethink that. And I remember that day really clearly when I went downstairs and my mother was still in bed. I think we'd had a bit of an argument the night before, and as I was writing that blog, it just kind of hit me that what if something happened? I never want to leave a conversation knowing that it hasn't been in a happy state. I never want to do that again. I never want to do that again, because I would hate to live with that regret of thinking my last interaction with someone was not a nice one. I always want them to be happy. I think I might need to go and hug everyone now. Anyway, next time it will be chapter 11.